there are some people who should not be making our laws. Now, I'm not telling you they shouldn't be heard. Everybody should be heard. Every opinion should be heard. It should all be weighed. But some people with some moral sense and a moral compass need to decide which of those beliefs and which of those values ought to be written into law. Abortion on demand would have been ended a long time ago if the right people had been writing the laws and were still in charge in this nation. It would be done. In fact, Christians engaged in the public policy arena, Christians engaged in politics are good for every aspect of life in this nation. I don't care what people want to say. Let them call us all kinds of things. Don't let that drive us out of the public square just because somebody disagrees with us. We don't want to have somebody mad at us. Man, there's no place to go if you're afraid somebody's going to get mad at you because you have an idea that they don't like. Christian political engagement protects all people. It protects them from government tyranny. Like today, we have governments who actually have the power to take your property and give it to another private enterprise because it will benefit the city better. And the Supreme Court upheld that. I mean, it's just no longer taking people's property for the public good, which is astonishing to me that you can do that. But now you can take, the government can take your business from you and give it to the person next to you, because that person's business will create more revenue than your business will. I call that tyranny. Or like government insisting that everybody needs to buy health care or be penalized. Well, that's where we are, isn't it? If enough of the right people had been in Washington, D.C., that health care bill would never have been passed, and we wouldn't be fighting this battle today. Or like your tax dollars being spent right now to encourage the destruction of human embryos to harvest their stem cells, because this administration doesn't believe those are human beings. And no, your tax dollars aren't being used to actually pay to destroy the embryo that they get the stem cell from. It's just being given to anybody who can, with their own money, destroy the embryo, take out the stem cell. Once they've spent their own money to get the stem cell from the embryo they just killed, then there are millions of tax dollars available for them to run all of their experiments. Christians engaged in politics can also help at least slow down the moral decay. You know, I recognize that what I do isn't going to save America. America's only hope is the church. That's the only hope. Whether or not America finds its way will depend on whether or not the church decides it wants to get involved again. But I do believe that our work in Washington, D.C., at the very least slows down the decay to buy the church more time. We're doing everything we can to keep the government off of the back of the church so that the church has time to find the Lord again and be revived and be that great force across this land that once again can bring this country to a place that God would choose to bless it rather than judge it. And we can stop much of the moral decay, like the pornography that invades every home today and is destroying families left and right. There isn't a pastor in this room who doesn't have a family that has been or will be destroyed by pornography. Christians involved in the political process can help protect people from destructive lifestyles. Homosexual behavior is destructive. Statistics tell us that homosexual males died 20 to 25 years earlier than heterosexual males. The lifestyle is just destructive. Now, I'm not telling you it should be made illegal. If two men or two women want to engage in a certain consenting activity in the privacy of their own rooms, we don't need to be sending the police into people's bedrooms to find out what they're doing in there. But that doesn't mean that we normalize that behavior. It doesn't mean that we encourage that behavior. It doesn't mean that we allow our children to be taught that that's appropriate behavior. And again, I bring you back to the issue of abortion. You know it. Abortion kills human beings. And we're killing them at the rate of over 1 million a year. But it also harms women. Abortion is incredibly destructive to women. Psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, physically, there is no way, of any way that you can measure its impact, that you do not see abortion's damage to women. And Christian engagement also can help save this nation from God's judgment. See, I no longer ask people to pray that God won't judge this country. I believe we're under judgment today. I believe we're already experiencing God removing his hand of protection. And we're seeing it. And this is just a small taste. This is God just trying to get our attention. What happens when God says, I tried that, and it's just time for me to be just to all the other nations I've judged, and to let you feel the full result of your abandonment of my values? See, it's interesting when you actually read the Bible to see why God judged nations. Dr. Bergen talked about this as well. Most of the time you see God judging people for what they do, not for what they think. He doesn't judge them mainly because they are lost. I mean, what hope would any of us have if God judged nations because the people in them were lost? You know, there would be no nations if God simply judged them because the people in them were lost. What you see is God judging them for their behavior. When their wickedness gets to the point where he cannot tolerate it any longer, then he sends his judgment. Genesis 6, then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Now the earth was corrupt in the sight of God, and the earth was filled with violence. Genesis 6, verse 11. Verse 13, God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence. Genesis 18:20, the Lord said, the outcry of Sodom and Gomorrah is indeed great, and their sin is exceedingly grave. Jude 7, just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, since they in the same way as these indulged in gross immorality and went after strange flesh. It was their behavior that God finally could not tolerate anymore. Jonah 1:2, arise and go to Nineveh, the great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. Jonah 3:8, both man and beast must be covered. This was the king calling out with sackcloth, and let them call on God and earnestly, that each would turn from his wicked way and from the violence which is in his hands. Jonah 3:10, when God saw their deeds, that they turned from their wicked way, then he relented concerning the calamity that he intended to bring on them. You see, God's judging their behavior. God's judging the wickedness that they fulfill from the evil that's in their hearts. If we can even simply by law restrain the expression of wickedness, we can actually forestall the judgment of God on this nation. And folks, everybody pays under the judgment of God. Even in Israel, good people went into exile. Even in Israel, good people died when the Assyrians obliterated the northern kingdom, when the Babylonians obliterated the southern kingdom. Don't think that it was just the bad people that paid. There were also good people who paid. We can, by our engagement in the political process, do great good for this nation. We can improve life for everyone, and we can forestall the judgment of God. We simply need to decide to do it. I have much more that I would say, but I'm out of time. I would point you to the First Amendment to remind you that we do have religious liberty in this country, and we are expected to engage that religious liberty and to not let anyone do anything to infringe on your religious liberty, to not let anyone tell you you cannot be involved. Your founding fathers expected you to be involved. They intended for you to be involved. And your children and your grandchildren need you to be involved. May God show each of you his part in that plan for the future of the United States of America. God bless you.